Hello guys, in the part 1 of the video Sicilian Najdorf analysis, I shared the lines that can be played by white, and we discussed about the move e5 being white's 8th move. Today I'm going to cover the rest of the variations that white has in his 8th move, which is queen e2, queen d2 and queen f3. White plays queen e2, and the best response for black in this position would be h6, attacking the bishop on g5, and bishop h4 is the best move for white in this position. And then bishop e7, white castles on the queen side, knight c6, and here white has got two alternatives. One is to advance the e-file pawn to break up the center, or to exchange his knight sitting at d4 with the black knight at c6. We'll cover both the options that white has. So let's say if white plays e5, attacking the pawn at d6, and at the same time the knight at f6. This is the best move that black can play, to take the knight at d4, and then once the rook takes the knight at d4, dx e5, fx e5, knight d5. Now white has the option of taking the black knight, which is at d5, or take the black bishop with the white bishop at e7. If white responds by taking the bishop at e7, then black's best move is to take the knight, the white knight at c3, and attack the queen. If white responds by taking this black knight at c3 with the pawn at b2, this is not a good move. Why? Because it will cause double pawns on the c file, and once white recaptures the knight with the b2 pawn, the black queen can simply take the bishop at e7 and continue with the game. However, if white responds by taking the queen, which is at d8, then the black knight, which is at c3, can take the queen at e2 and check the king, and also attack the rook. White's best move would be to take the knight with the bishop, and then black can simply take the white bishop at d8, and this is a fairly equal game, and black has equal chances of winning the game. However, if white decides to take the knight, which is at d5, then black can simply take the white bishop at h4, because that's not defended. Well, in this position we have already discussed how black should play if white advances the e4 pawn. However, if white responds by taking the black knight, which is at c6, black can simply take the knight with the bishop. And now if white advances the e4 pawn to e5, black's best response here would be to move the knight to d5. And once white takes the bishop at e7, queen takes the bishop at e7, ex d6, queen x d6, knight x d5, bishop x d5. Now, looking at this position, you might feel that the queen is pinned by the rook, and once the move c4 is played, then black has to give away his white bishop. However, if that happens, then black has this move of taking the f4 pawn and check the king, and has an opportunity of saving the bishop. Coming back to white's 8th move, we already discussed queen e2 and e5. Now white does have an alternative of playing queen d2, okay, and to this move black's best response would be to play h6, attacking the g5 bishop. Now white has two options here, whether to take the knight with the bishop, or to move the bishop back to h4, and we'll discuss both of them. if white takes a knight at f6, then black can simply recapture the bishop at f6 and should have a good game, because black has got black has both his bishops and should have a comfortable game. However, if white realizes that and plays the move bishop h4, then black has a fantastic move, which is knight takes e4, attacking the queen. At the same time, black's own queen is being attacked, though the bishop is not protected. To this move, if white takes the bishop, takes the queen at d8, black can simply take the queen at d2. And if white now plays bishop b6, then black can simply take the white bishop, which is at f1, and then rook takes the knight at f1. And as per Fritz, black is slightly better off in this position. Now you must be wondering as to what can happen if white captures the black knight, which is at e4. If that happens, if white knight captures the black knight at e4, then black can simply capture the bishop, which is at h4, because that's not defended, and once it captures, it's going to check the king. We have already discussed the moves e5, queen e2 and queen d2, and we are yet to discuss about the move queen f3. So if white plays queen f3, black's best response is knight c6. White castles along the queen side. The black queen can either be played at c7 or b6 or a5, which I'll discuss. But for now, let's assume that black takes this knight at d4, to which white recaptures the knight with the rook. Bishop c6 is played with the intention of pinning the e4 pawn. The e4 pawn cannot move now, otherwise the queen hangs. And now if white has two options of either playing bishop e2 or bishop c4. So if he plays bishop c4, black's best response is bishop c7, and once white doubles his rooks along the d file to gain control over it post the exchange of the central pawns, black's best response is queen a5. Now this move is played with the objective of attacking the white bishop at c4 and the white knight at c3 with the b pawns by pushing it forward. To this move, white plays bishop h4 with the objective of pushing the g file pawns forward and attacking the knight and building an attack along the king side. White castles, g4 is played as planned, and then b5, attacking the bishop. The bishop retreats to b3, and then b4, attacking the knight. Now this knight is defending the e4 pawn. The e4 pawn is being defended by the rook, by the knight, and the queen. By attacking this knight at c3, the e4 pawn is kind of weakened, and this gives black an opportunity or a tempo to attack. Once this knight moves to e2, rook a c8 is played with the objective of building an attack along the c file. White does not want to give black any chances of counterplay, so he moves his king to b1, and now white has got this fantastic move. If white takes a knight with the rook, the bishop at h4 hangs, and if he takes the bishop, if white takes the bishop, if white takes the bishop at e7, black has this fantastic move of knight d2 check, to which the queen is lost. If rook takes the knight, bishop takes the queen. Hence, this cannot be played. The alternative that I was discussing was, other than bishop c4, is bishop e2. Now the objective is still the same, to move the bishop to the e2 square to double the rooks along the d file. That's the plan for white. To which black's best response is bishop e7, rook h d1, queen a5, the objective is still the same for black, to build an attack along the c file and to push the b file pawns forward. To this move, white has got two options: to play queen e3 to move away from the pin. If queen e3 is played, h6 attacking the bishop at g5, bishop h4 with the objective of pushing the g file pawns forward, building an attack along the black king side. And now comes e5, fx e5, dx e5, rook d3, black castles along the king side, king b1. Now there is at this position, by looking at this position, nothing can be said about who's going to win. However, I believe black has got an upper edge in terms of development, and his pieces are pretty well placed as compared to the pieces of white. White's bishop at e2 is kind of not into action, and his bishop at h4 is kind of blocked. Whereas black's both the bishops are pretty active. He can push the b file pawns forward, place a rook at c8 and build an attack along the c file. I prefer black in this position. Now the other move in this particular position is bishop x f6. So if that is played, bishop takes the bishop, rook x d6 is played, bishop x e3, queen x c3, queen x e3, bx e3, bishop x e4. Now this position would lead to a bad endgame for white because of the doubled c file pawns. Black will have a comfortable endgame, and this position is favorable for black. So in this position we already discussed what will happen if black takes the knight at d4. However, there are few other alternatives that black can opt for. If he plays queen a5, which is a good move, white can respond in a couple of ways. If white takes the knight, which is at f6, bishop x f6, gx f6, f5, trying to exploit the weakness of the f6 pawn post the exchange. Knight x d4, rook x d4, queen e5. Now this move queen e5 is such a strong move. The queen cannot be moved from that square. It's sitting solid out there. Rook d1, black castles queenside, bishop c4, and then comes h5. Now this move is played with the intention of making some room for the black bishop, to place it at h6 to check the king from there. And I believe black's position is better here. His queen is so well placed, and he will certainly have a good game from here on. In this position we discussed how black should continue the game if white takes the knight at f6. If white tries to play g4 instead of taking the knight at f6, then black can continue with h5, and then knight b3 attacking the black queen, queen c7, gx h5, knight x h5, bishop h3 trying to attack along the a3 d7 diagonal by pushing the pawns forward and trying to break open the f file. Knight f6 is played, and then rook h e1, preparing to push the e file pawns forward. Rook c8 with the intention of pushing the b file pawns forward and forcing to move the knight, which is sitting at c3 and then having a surprise attack along the c file. And then bishop f1. White possibly was able to foresee black's plan and is trying to prevent it. b5, a3 is played, and then bishop e7, rook d2, trying to double the rooks along the d file. b4. Now this is a pretty good move. The intention is to exchange the pawns and then build a surprise attack with the knight. Ex. Alright. What if bishop takes the pawn at h6? Then black takes the knight, which is at c3. So ex b4, knight x b4, bishop d3, and comes queen b6. This is with the intention of building a surprise attack along the a file by placing the knight there, which you will see in a minute. f5 is played, trying to break open the center and creating some kind of pawn weaknesses along the e file. Knight a2 check, knight takes knight, queen takes the knight at b3, queen king b1, and queen b7. This position is really good for black. I mean, it's his position is solid in the center, and white is not able to break open the f file or the e file at the moment, and black should have a good game. Now, in this position, if white plans to play, white plays knight b3, then black can simply go to queen c7 and continue the game from here. This move is not particularly played by most of the grandmasters, and the moves discussed before this have been played more often. If in this position black's ninth move, if black intends to play queen b6, this particular variation I could not actually find too many games to analyze, and is yet it needs to be studied more to be able to understand about the about how good the move is. What I could find is if queen b6 is played by black, if white plays knight b3, black can castle along the queen side and continue the game. He can certainly play the games in the variations discussed earlier. However, a little bit more of analysis is yet to be done on this, and this move is not often played in this particular variation.